this start button, and basically now I enter a name. Let's just go with that for now. Actually, can I just run around the map maybe? Like, can we just have a look around it? If I just do that, I might actually just be able to run around the map for you guys. If it enters. It might not enter just yet. I don't know if these PCs are hooked in or turned on. We'll see. We'll see very soon. But yeah, it's like the white is a little bit overbearing, which is a bit of a shame. But it's... There we go. Hey, we can actually look around the new map. Are you guys getting in-game sound? Am I getting in-game sound? Yes, I am. So I can actually show off some of the new stuff. So there's lovely Moira. And welcome to the new map. All right, I'm going to have to do this every single time as well. Close this. There we go. So this is the attacker spawn, I think. Right, there's the front gates. But welcome. We have in-game sound? Good. I'm glad. So like we can take a quick look around the map. And oh my god, like the thing with this is there are so many Easter eggs. Like this was clearly a labor of love. I remember reading a post from a Blizzard dev a while ago basically explaining that sometimes you just got to let your creatives go crazy and just like let these artists and stuff make things. And this is clearly like a, you know, something out of that basically. Like, you know, we had Ashbringer. The Ashbringer. I could be the Ashbringer. Sound is fine, sound is all good? Good. Let me know if there's any issues in chat and I'll try and, you know, try and do my best. Who do you think will have the best chance against South Korea who's still in the tournament? I'm tempted to say France, but France have the same issue as the UK. They haven't managed to practice as much as they would like. So, like, I think USA had best chance because it's a good meta for the USA and it's a, like, you know, it's very, very much in their favor. Jake's heroes are strong. Adam's Mercy is very, very good. Adam's considered one of the best Mercies in the world. So it's like if any time everyone was going to do it, it's going to be the USA. And now it's a little bit difficult to say. I don't think anyone's going to be quite as close. Oh yeah, let's start with Moira because like let's get Moira out of the way. So if you're unfamiliar with Moira and how she works, okay, you have your left click, which is like it's like the mace spray, and basically this will heal people, but it also penetrates through them. So if you've got like, you know, you got someone here, and someone up here, you can heal all three of them. And that's actually pretty big. Now you can see on the right-hand side that there is a meter that's depleting as I heal. And I think if you are healing someone, that will deplete faster actually. So and you can see it's very, very slowly recharging. But if I right-click, I have this drain, right? She like drains the life out of people. Hello, General. And this will refill your healing. So as you drain out of people, you get more healing ability. So it's going to encourage you to be a little bit more in the action, so you're not just behind the team constantly like healing, because you will run out, and that will make you less efficient. So you're going to want to get into combat a little bit. Well, you're thinking, oh, she's a support. Surely you don't want your supports on the front line fighting people and killing people. Well, the answer to that is you have a very powerful evasion ability called Fade, which is like it's like a blink, and you can see it's not very long. It's like a mix between blink and wraith walk. And basically what happens is when you use it, you go invisible. Like, the enemy cannot see you. And so where it's useful is just confusing the enemy. So, like, you're running towards a corner, and then you can go this way. Maybe for a little bit quicker. Or, like, you know, you're here, and it's just like, okay, you know, let's say we're trying to take the point, because I think the first point is actually literally here. And it's like, well, we get dived. Well, I do this, and then I can go this way and maybe try and escape through here. Or I can just go this way and try and get around a corner and hide. It's a really, really cool ability. I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's a nice little sort of quick juke of like, hey, we can just get out of here. Now, her main ability, the key ability to her kit, is this orb. Does it actually have a full name? I can't remember what its proper name is. I'm sure it has one. But we're just going to call it the orb. So, as you can see, you can pick between healing and damage. And that's what you pick from. And so, what I've discovered, like, my favorite thing in the world is to do this. And you just put it somewhere like this. And it will just bounce up and down, and you have like this healing station next to you that's going to top you up. It's really, really cool. It's a lot of fun. Or if you know the enemy's going to try and move through something, you do it with the damage orb, and the damage orb, it latches onto people and like will do damage over time to them. So it creates like a zoning tool. Now you might think, well, this orb looks awfully fast. You know, if I fire it out into the world, like the healing orb, it's relatively quick, right? And it bounces around all over the place, and it will just sail off into orbit. It slows down when it's actually healing people. So don't think that it's just going to like zoom through people and it's going to be gone. It will slow down and like attach to people, which is pretty cool. So basically, her right click, her damage output is interesting. It's very hard to sort of get a feel for it. because it's like Symmetra's orb, Symmetra Beam, in that it has to attach to someone, but don't think it's just like Symmetra, because let's say that our enemy is this lamppost. All right, this lamppost is our enemy. If you aim here, you aren't actually doing any damage. You actually have to aim at the target, and then it will start attaching and draining. So there is a hit scan component. It's like Zari's beam almost in how it works. So it's a little bit different. It's pretty cool. Do you think the Moira will take Ana even further out of the meta because Ana is so immobile? I don't think so. Ana has so many utility tools. Like, Ana's power is anti-healing. Oh, by the way, favorite thing in the world. Maybe I can actually... I don't know if I can actually hurt these as Moira. Oh, I don't think I can. You can actually kill the probes. It's amazing. Like, Ana has powerful tools. She has very powerful crowd control. She has very powerful healing. She has very powerful anti-healing as well. So I think Ana will always have a place. It's just the meta hasn't favored her. Winston's been strong. The damage buff to her will make a big difference, though. But we'll see. Yeah, welcome to the Nexus experience. Like, I love this map. Viewer games of the PTR, absolutely. We'll be testing all this stuff out. No, I want to test this stuff out. Like, but Nexus experience, little SCVs. I think that's the actual SCV model as well from in-game, maybe. Apparently, this health pack is very strong for Sombra. Let's go through the map. The Overlord transport. Oh wow. Oh wow. I think you can actually see the Overlord somewhere. It's floating around. There it is. There he is. There he is. The Overlord having a good time here in Blizzworld. The World Cup's also on. Sweden is playing Canada. And Mangachu just got a triple kill. Oh god, I want to turn around and watch it. I want to turn around and watch it. Alright, let's go and have a look over here. Hello, Lee. So let's have a look. Let's have a quick look through this. So basically, let's just go on a whirlwind tour through the map using Moira. So, attacker spawn starts in the Hearthstone Tavern. Lovely. I've had many an hour dancing on top of mailbox. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, just all the Easter eggs, all the stuff you can look at. So you leave this, and you have the Valley of Heroes, I believe it's called, from Stormwind. You can go up through the choke point, this main choke point here. Like, this is a very, very tight choke, but there is a different pathway through here. Like, there's a flanking route through here, through the Lost and Found Vikings, which is an amazing name. And you have, like, this flank route here. So as Tracer, for example, Sombra could also, like, get in here. Like, this health back to me seems really, really good for Sombra. You could just take control of this, and your team could fight from in here, and that would be really powerful. So it, feels pretty good, man. Like, this health back maybe for defenders for Sombra as well could be really strong. You go through here, past Turalyon. Like, actually, I want to highlight something as well. The fact that everything has names makes call-out super easy. So, like, I think this is called, like, the Fargo Deep Mine. Yeah, so, like, you can say, oh, enemies by Fargo, Fargo. Like, you can imagine the call-outs already forming. And I like the fact that they've started naming stuff because it makes it very easy to have these call-outs. You also have the Flight to Duskwood. Can I actually get up there? I haven't actually... There's, like, a griffin that flies around. There it is. There it is. Look at it go. Can I get on this? Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing, we're actually on the Griffin. Oh, actual screenshots as well. Dark ship. Dark ship. Is shift only horizontal movement? Yes. Although it's a little bit like Doomfist, you can do some momentum conservation with it, so you can sort of bounce around. Yeah, this is absolutely insane. Like, in terms of all the details. I can't believe I'm just riding a Griffin. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the Griffin. So, like, you can imagine, like, having a sniper perch up here, for example. You could probably have a good sight line with Widow from up there. Into the choke. First point is over here by Snaxramus, which is, again, incredible name. I actually want to look in Snaxramus. What do they got? Oh, none of the items are named. Oh, wait. We have the Death Wings. Anything else? There's a shark here that I really want to, like, knock into the water. But you can't. But Snaxramus, a little bit under... Well, it is Snaxramus. It is horrifying, I'm sure. This is the Fargo Deep Mine. Okay, so I'm exploring this as much as I can as well. Like, oh, we can clip through this. Shh, shh. I'll tell a dev. I'll inform a dev about that. Wow, treasure chest. We got the shark. I believe that's called the Hellscream. The roller coaster in the distance. But yeah, after the first point is done, this is a hybrid map, of course, and a payload does roll out. So it will roll out of here. There's the payload. It's very flat payload, very low payload, so Bastion's going to have a great time going from there. And then you start going into the StarCraft area. And so you will just start exploring through this. Got the probes. I can't kill these as Moira. I want to kill the probes. I'm a Terran player. I always want to kill probes. But this is like the higher ground area, and as you can see, like it's very easy for the attacking team to get onto it because the siege tank is like right here. So like you have a pathway straight up to the high ground, so it's very easy to come and fight up here and contest up here. And you can see the high ground isn't really that high as well, which I think is a big difference. It's going to make Zarya very, very strong. You have the Nexus experience. This has health packs in it. It's a bit of like a side route, a flanking route. The main payload pathway is across this way. So you go through here, down here, and then it's a little bit like Route 66 second point, where it's a little bit of like a hook that goes around. You have this area in here, which is called the Pylon Terrace, where like apparently Symmetra is devastating in here because it's also very cramped. Moira is also very strong in here because you just sort of send this thing bouncing around, and it just goes crazy in here. But then you go through here, and then you get to the third point, which is the Reign of the Black King, which is Leoric's Manor. And you get to explore through all of this. It's pretty crazy. Like, and then you sort of get this really cool Diablo area. It sort of, reminds you a bit of Eichenwald, all that kind of stuff. Very, very pretty. Death Pit. Can we actually break this, I wonder? Or is this permanent? I don't know. Oh, by the way, Moira has an emote already. This is actually very rare for preview builds. You don't normally have the emotes. She also Naruto runs, because she's a nerd. So she Naruto runs around. You can even get behind the scenes. I think this is where the attacker spawn starts. Maybe it's the defender spawn. I'm not 100% sure. We have like a couple of hours to play. But final point is here in front of the throne of the Skeleton King. You can even break these. Can we find a legendary? Hello. I'll talk to you in 1 second. Unless you just want to whack the headphone on, we are sort of doing a little bit of a pre-tour. So I am joined by the illustrious and wonderful Scott
Lawler.
Lawler.
Yeah.
Sorry, I am terrible at names.
It's all good.
Hello.
Hi.
Would you like to just introduce yourself briefly? Like,
Sure.
What is your role?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you do?
Like I said, Scott Lawler. I'm the project audio director for Overwatch. So, basically responsible for everything that comes out of the speakers in some way for the whole franchise. So, I mean, even when it comes to OWL or promotional materials, just making sure that we're true to Overwatch and that it's got the right heart and vibe in the way things sound. And I work with a bunch of talented people that help me execute that. There's a music director, Derek Duke. There's a sound supervisor, Paul Lackey. There's a cinematic supervisor, Paul Menachini. There's a voice director, Andrea Toyas. And I sort of help facilitate, all the work that we need to do to make a map and a hero and everything that we do.
Yeah, and make it sound cohesive and clear as well, which is always the nice part about an FPS.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have that clear sound. I just want to double check that you are visible on the camera. If not, I can always just adjust it. So
there we go.
Let's just bring this a little bit over this way. We're ready to go here if you want to bring some players in. So I suppose, let's start with a new map, because I imagine working on this, because it is a love letter to Blizzard, you're probably pulling sound design from absolutely everywhere. So, we're in the Diablo area, so did you hook up with the Diablo guys and go, give us all your assets? We need all this sound.
Some of us have also worked on Diablo. I worked briefly on Reaper of Souls, and then one of our sound designers, Chris De La Pena, was the one who was responsible for this area, was on Diablo for a number of years. I think he was on 3 as well as Reaper of Souls. So he just loved it. He was able to go back through some things he had created back on Diablo. We just did a lot of cool little... so just to start this off, this whole map, what we ended up doing is we went to Knott's Berry Farm just down the street here in Anaheim, which is a big amusement park. And
that must be useful.
Yeah, we were able to get access to that before the park opened, and we went around and went on some minecart rides and got a lot of source that we then mixed with the classic Blizzard stuff. So throughout that Diablo area, we have creature sounds that are coming from the pit, but we make it sound like it's coming from speakers because real creatures. We just did a lot of really fun things. Deckard Cain is sprinkled throughout the area, saying lines. Through the StarCraft area, we have the Adjutant as our, as you walk into different places like the shop here, there'll be little lines of dialogue if you keep going around that side. So she'll say some lines of dialogue here. And just sort of hidden throughout the map. There's a lot of really fun, surprises we put in here. Some of these items in the shop have special sounds on it. The Space Marine toys have special sounds that we created for
I mean,
them.
it must have been really nice for you guys because you have, it's not like you have to pull people, or it's like, well, you worked on StarCraft, so you're literally the perfect person to help build this, or you worked on Diablo, so you're revisiting that. Although I imagine, because I think the Green Hills of Stranglethorn are somewhere around in this map as well, which is Jeff's original magnum opus.
Right.
That I think has haunted him forever. And it's like, some of these things might not necessarily be good to go back to. It's like, oh no, I remember doing that. I remember, I think the first time I talked to Blizzard before, and Jeff mentioned, people asked, will Capture the Flag be in the game? And Jeff was like one of the original masterminds behind Warsong Gulch in World of Warcraft, Capture the Flag there. And oh no, please no. I suppose, I imagine you also worked on Junkertown, because I remember you guys released a video where you got to go to a farm and sort of go out into the world. How does that feel to sort of go out and try and find places? Like, what are some of the interesting places you've gone to and done in the past? So I imagine that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's a blast. I mean, so with that, it was also a great trip just for the group of guys. We all went out, got in a big van, and traveled across California, just looking for crazy sounds. So we went to a train museum where we just found all these pieces of junk that would, you saw that thing where it was kind of like grinding this wheel. That ended up being the big part of the payload. It's a really rewarding way for us to spend some time. It inspires us. I mean, there's you get really unique sounds that no one else has that way, and it's also just a really great way to spend time, keep everyone inspired and interested.
All right, so it's not the first time I've played the new hero, thankfully. I have managed to play her before. We actually have a Mercy as well, so we're actually in pretty good hands. We actually have something resembling the Team Song. She's very interesting, and I suppose because I'm a sound designer. Oh god, I'm out of healing juice. I need to go get some healing juice. I mean, with Moira, like, every hero has to have, distinct sounds to her. So, could you talk about maybe what informed Moira, where sort of the sound design's coming from, where it's pulling from?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the main sound designer for this was Jeff Garnett. And there's a lot of things going on that you may not even realize at first. When you're healing people, you'll hear the pitch of their health going up, so you know how much work you have to do. Which is something we've done before with Mercy, but we do that with all the orbs and with the heal spray, and so it's actually really challenging to get it all working on functioning. With the damage, you can hear how much health your target is being sucked away from them, and how it's refilling your tanks. So we're making sure we're putting a lot of gameplay cues into the sounds themselves, so you can, hear more about what you're doing and give you some gameplay cues.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose especially because she doesn't have, Mercy has, an interface that tells you, oh, you have so much health to heal. Well, with Moira, you really got to get that from elsewhere to sort of get a good, clear idea of what you've got, what you need to do.
And she's obviously also got the ability to heal multiple people at once.
Yes.
And it's great to play.
Oh, God, Riptide. Oh, hey, Mercy. Oh, God. Does that ever happen to you? You sort of take a moment, pick up a drink, get rezzed, and then it's just, oh, God.
No doubt.
Oh, well, Lee Sparks stopping by. I think it's one of the content producers who sort of helps put stuff like this together and all the Easter eggs and all the stuff that fleshes out the map.
Yeah, he works on all the maps with the map team, the artists. He helps coordinate bugs.
So I have some beef. I'm becoming what I call a Hammond truther. So you guys teased Hammond a while ago with Lunar Horizon, but I'm going to keep pestering people Hammond when Hammond. It's my new crusade.
And I'll just sit here and smile. That's about all I can do. Yeah, there's not a lack of good ideas we have.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially from the community as well. It's always amazing seeing what they come out with and sort of what they build up.
Yeah, it's really cool to see how the community reacts to certain things. I mean, just the world is so much fun.
Yeah.
So there's just a million hero ideas, and we're super excited to make them.
Try and get some damage on the Lucian. Yes, I love this beam so much. So I am a support main. So I'm very happy about sort of the idea of this hero. And getting revenge on Genjis who can't deflect me, that feels very nice. So I mean, when sort of concepting something like this out, I suppose the biggest question I have is like, where do you begin? Where does something like this sort of begin, and where do you go? Okay, we've got this idea. We sort of, I imagine you have like 4 or 5 ideas on the table. What made you go? That's the one. That's
With this hero?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Jeff Goodman would be the one that really knew the most about why they made these decisions, but I'll just go ahead and take some guesses on that.
Yeah.
I know we really were ready for those before. We really wanted to hear another healer. And we wanted to have a different take on it, you know, that we've done all the very good guy healers, and to finally have a chance to make the villain that has a unique the idea of sucking the energy out and then healing your allies was a really good take on it, and I really excited everyone. And I think she's just going to be really good for the game and good for the meta. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of excited to see her potential. I'm having a blast playing it, by the way, so if I seem a little bit distracted.
Oh, no, of course. I can't imagine
I
talk and play.
really like the fact that she just feels very, like, we don't have a healer that's nippy and what I would call nippy and active at the moment. So Mercy, for example, she's very agile, you know, she's very flighty, but she's very passive in what she does. Well, this feels a lot more active, a lot more engaged. And so it's kind of crazy. Because I've got you here, and you mentioned you worked on the spectator client as well, so I'm very big into the esports. Like, I'm sort of glancing over your shoulder occasionally because Canada and Sweden are playing. UK, of course, got knocked out earlier, which broke my heart.
Did you watch all the games yesterday?
I managed to watch a lot of them. I missed the end of France and China, and I missed a little bit of Australia as well.
Okay.
I was super happy to see the new spectator client going in.
Yeah.
As with regards to like sound design and working with the spectator client, like how do you prioritize that out? How do you make that function? What sort of changes are you putting into the spectator client to make that work better for spectators where it might not translate for players so much? So
yeah, so we haven't done a ton with the audio. I mean, there's a couple key things. There's some information you need before I can fully answer this. So
sure.
One of the big things that we have in Overwatch sound-wise is a thing called the importance system. So behind the scenes, there's actually a big system that's trying to figure out when you're fighting who your biggest threat is. And we do that through a number of things. Like we're evaluating who you can see, who's doing damage near you. We kind of weigh this all out with all the enemies, and we try and highlight the one that has the most potential to do damage to you. And then those personal sounds are, augmented in the mix and focused on. While
I was always curious if that tip was telling the truth, that the more dangerous enemies were louder.
Oh yeah,
so that's
absolutely.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, absolutely true. We do things like, it's even based on like the flight path it takes for a person to get to you. So like it's not about if the person's on the other side of that wall right there, for example. They may not be a threat. There's no clear path. They have to go over, around.
So if they have clearer pathing, they're loud. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's really crazy stuff. And it's made a huge difference, I think, in the intelligibility of the game. Because there's just so much going on that we have to find a way to remove things more than anything. Actually, it's less about making the guys louder as much as it is making the other guys quieter.
Right.
So it's actually a big part of it. Turning down all your friends. Not all of them, but we turn them down somewhat. And we turn down the less threatening enemies as well, and the ambience goes back, so that you can focus on what actually really matters at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so because of that, to get back to the spectator client, one of the big challenges is like, well, what is when you're in 3D and you're not one person with any threat, like what do you do? So we kind of changed that system a bit so that it's more just focused on the action that you're seeing. It highlights directly what you're looking at, because that'll be the best for a broadcast type situation. We are probably going to start looking very soon at the slow-mo. Like, I don't know if you've seen the new replays. I'd love for that to sound really cool. I think like the slow-mo.
I know yesterday during UK versus Sweden, I mean, it broke my heart during UK versus Sweden, but there was like a Pulse Bomb Graviton, and they showed the slow-motion replay. It was just all the heroes slowly exploding out of it. Like Zenyatta's orbs going everywhere. It looked beautiful.
Yeah.
So getting that.
Focus on that audio-wise. See how that'll sound. Just anything we can do to make the mix more clear in a stadium too. Like, hearing it yesterday in the big stadium here, I thought it sounded pretty good, but I think there's some lessons that we can look at where, I don't know, maybe some different ways of managing our low end, the bass, so that that can cut through nicely in a stadium.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. I mean, we're really involved in everything in esports, all of Overwatch League. We're just trying to see what we can do to really level up every aspect of that. So, I don't know, I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, so I'm very, very into the esports side of things. I also help run tournaments every 2 weeks that we run in like a community server. We have about 2,000 people in that. And so like the spectator improvements and helping make that work, make that clear for people. And especially people who might be newer to the game, just make sure it's nice and clear audio, clear to understand that, oh, this is the enemy ultimate, this is so-and-so's ultimate, this is happening. It's all very high priority for us as well, especially as someone who's done some casting in the past, like making sure that's clear, crisp, and easy to understand, like easy to hear. Oh, the Junkrat's over there, we know where the Riptire is, so we can start hyping that up and we know where it's coming from. So, super high priority. Hey, we did it.
Yeah.
I think that's my team down there. Yes.
Nice.
Good job, guys.
The new replay feature is really cool with that though, too, especially for casting and everything, where they can, let's say you missed that diva that killed half the enemy team. You can just go back and find that feature, play it back at speed, and highlights or something fun for the audience. So I think it's gonna be really fun, especially as they get better. At using these features, it's just gonna
exactly. I mean, that's the big thing. You've got all these tools, and now it's time to learn to use them and make the broadcast as exciting as possible, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
I suppose.
My genius.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm just sort of thinking like, what is the absolute tip-top question I can ask you? And I suppose one of the ones I'm interested in is, so have you worked on like all the heroes so far, or just a couple of them, or?
So, like I said, I work with a lot of different people and sort of coordinate all this craziness that's going on.
Yeah.
And we have a producer that does that as well, so it's not strictly that. It's very much an aesthetic direction type of thing that I take. Before I was in the audio director position, though, I was a sound designer on the team for 3 years or so. And I did Tracer, Reaper, and Diva. So a good portion of their sound design for those heroes. We have a bunch of really talented guys on our team. Like I said, Paul Lackey's our sound supervisor who works with all of the sound designers. We have Jeff Garnett who did Moira. We have Chris De La Pena who did Doomfist and Mercy and probably half the guys in the game. We have Justin DeClute who works on all the heroes and really facilitates like kind of the technical hookup of a lot of getting the sounds to work. And then prior to that, we had a couple other guys, Brian Farr and Chris Giampa, who are now Brian's on Hearthstone and Chris is with the Diablo team on Team 3. And they did a bunch of the really classic heroes as well, like Genji was Brian's, and let's see what it was. Chris did Reinhardt.
Someone's clearly been cheating. Sombra.
Nice.
I mean, this is one of the things that I've been trying to explain to people. Like, this map really feels like a huge labor of love. And I imagine it was fun for you guys and your team to just sort of, and like everyone's team to just like, go make something cool, Blizzard themed. We'll find places to put it in.
Yeah.
Design it all, get it working.
Absolutely. It's funny, normally when we're getting ready for a show like this, either like a Gamescom or a BlizzCon, we'll kind of do a quick sound pass and then refine it more kind of when we have a little more time. We couldn't help ourselves. We just went all out on this one. It's like we did every last little detail. Whenever this goes to PTR, you'll have a lot of fun just walking around solo and just listening to all the little details. There's so much in there. Even in the Hearthstone Tavern, like the little board games that they have of Hearthstone have little fireworks going off. They make little sounds on it. The little holograms that keep popping up have all kinds of detail. It's just
sounds an amazing opportunity. It sounds like a lot of fun, basically.
It was.
Oh wait, they're taking the point.
Yeah, somehow.
Oh, fate. Oh, Jesus. I'm always tempted to left click. That's the one thing that keeps getting me, is I keep left clicking on people.
Yeah.
Trying to heal my enemies, which isn't as helpful as you'd expect.
Yeah, not quite.
Have you had a chance to play the new hero much at all? Do you play a huge amount?
We play test all the time. I would say, well, there's 2 play tests a day. We do one at like 9:30 in the morning and 6 o'clock at night. And people are always playing whatever we're working on. So we've played a lot of her. And then in the sound department, as we're getting closer and closer to we're always just getting together and playing little trying to make sure that we're happy with how quickly that I think she turned out. Oh boy.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got Kamehameha. We can keep it down.
I love that this is going this full. You just hit everybody.
It's so fun to just put it through an entire team. And it's the fact that it's healing your team and killing everyone else is so good. Put a damage orb in there.
So before this, I got to say I was looking at some of your videos on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
And I remember your videos from the early days of Overwatch.
I get that quite a lot.
Yeah, it was really great. But I really enjoy how you analyze the game. It's really great. Like, as someone who plays nonstop, I get a lot of good information.
It's always been, it's like, one thing I try to understand about people is how do they approach the game. Like, some people want to be the best at this hero. Some people want to be, you know, #1, top 500.
Right.
For me, it's always about understanding how the game works and piecing all that together, and then trying to impart that knowledge onto other people. And it's been such a fun thing to do and sort of learn how the game functions, works. It's like, yeah, you know, it's a deceptively simple game where you have all these people with all these different abilities, and how all that fits together is super interesting. So we can heal this person. Yes. I am steadily falling in love with Moira. This is a good sign. Oh, jeez.
You gotta love that. You just get right out of the way.
That fade is
gone.
so fun.
Yeah.
It's the fact that you go invisible to the enemy as well, so you can just be a little bit tricky. Sort of sneak through.
Yeah, the interactions like between characters are so complex in this game. It's absolutely crazy. And I've been playing this game non-stop for 3.5 years now, or at least obviously developing it. We were doing a take-home before it actually even got to beta. So we were playing home every night. So I've literally been playing this game every night for about 4 years. And it's been such a blast, and I'm still constantly learning new things.
Yeah.
You know, what comps work well. I still don't feel like I'm very good. Like, even though it's just so complex, it's hard to know what's gonna counter the other team.
Yeah. And especially with a new thing getting introduced, it throws it all over the place.
Yeah.
And it becomes very hard to sort of guess. Well, I know I heard when sort of Overwatch started getting prototyped, when sort of, you know, Titan finished up and Overwatch started getting more and more prototyped, and what we heard was that basically people just couldn't stop playing it. It's like, guys, we got to do something else, but everyone wanted to just play more Overwatch, which is always a really good sign, right? That you got something good on your hands.
Yeah, I will never forget the one of the first playtests we ever had, and just the amount of screaming and laughter that was going on. It was just total chaos. And that was like the moment when everyone realized like we really got something going here. Like, it was just so fun. Our very first batch was Reaper, Tracer, Pharah, and Reinhardt. And we only had those 4 heroes, and we only had Temple of Anubis, and just played those 4 heroes over and again on that one map.
Yeah.
And it was an absolute blast. I kind of want to actually do a custom game one of these days of that. You know, just
old
that
school
map,
Blizzard.
yeah, just like it'd be a really fun custom game. Core Combat is what we call that milestone. And it was those 4 heroes on that one map, and it was, I bet you it's still just as fun.
Yeah. I mean, that would actually be kind of fun to do, just like limited hero mode.
Yeah, I also want to do BlizzCon 2014 as well, which is the 12 heroes.
Yeah.
And the 3 maps. I think we had Anubis. What do we have? We had London.
It'd be probably
Kings
Anubis,
Row,
Kings Row,
and Hanamura.
Hanamura.
Yeah, we had those 3, and then the 12 heroes that were on the original poster. Yeah, that'd be a fun one too. See how that plays.
Sights. Out. Alright, heal orb, and Winston's run away too far, and up in Earthshatter. Actually, speaking of Earthshatter, did you get a chance to work on the cinematic at all? The new Honor and Glory, I believe it's called?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very involved in it, but we have a really great sound cinematics team that's run by this guy, Paul Menachini. So it's insane, all of the resources we put into this thing. I mean, we love it to death. Our coach Jared did a store working with some of the guys. And he got mixed up in Skywalker Sound.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and just really, really great work that those guys do on every cinematic. So I'm involved kind of in the early phases when it comes to like spotting out, you know, once it's an animatic, we're like, okay, what sounds do we want in the game that we want to make sure are consistent? So there's a couple in there like the Orisa sounds that went on the Aura 14s. There's the, you know, we put in elements of the game, Reinhardt charge onto the charge that happens in the cinematic. You know, his footsteps are all from the game assets. So we really want to make sure that that's consistency.
Yeah, the consistency is, like, I mean, I've noticed it with every single cinematic so far. Like, if they're on a location, it looks like the map.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like the place, and it sounds like the place. I mean, the trick with audio that I've always been told is that if you don't notice it, it's working.
Yep.
And you don't notice it, nothing feels out of place. Everything feels like it should be where it is.
Yeah.
And it feels like Overwatch.
Yeah, I love that cinematic though. Just,
it's
all
so
the
good.
feels.
And seeing like the lesson is Reinhardt, stay with your team, protect your team. Reinhardt, where are you going? No.
No doubt. We got to make sure that the players know where
Exactly. Jesus.
So when you tend to stream, do you play mostly competitive or?
I play mostly competitive. I'm an experimenter, so I have several accounts. One of my accounts is actually called Talon, and I try and only play Talon heroes.
That's funny.
Which we didn't have a proper support, so occasionally I'd end up playing Sombra. I'm pretty good at Sombra, but having a full proper healer will make that account a lot less frustrating at times.
Well, here you go.
But yeah, I try and play as many different heroes as I can. Then we have like different accounts on different nights, so it's, trying to play Tracer this night, or trying to play Talon, seeing how the Reaper works, sort of that stuff. But at my heart, I'm a causative Widowmaker main, which basically means I play Ana.
Okay.
Because that's the only sniper I really get to play. So I'm happy that she's sort of getting buffed soon. Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's just, oh, Jesus. That's even worse. But we also do a couple of nights of coaching the many, a couple of nights of probing the many, where we look at pro footage, sort of go over that.
Oh, cool. I haven't seen that with those guys. I've seen a couple of the coaching the many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with probing the many, it's very much, I model a lot of what I do on what Day 9 does, what Purge does for like StarCraft and Dota and that sort of stuff. So it's like
that changes my
trying to find ways that, if you're watching a pro video, it's like, well, okay, it's all good and well for them, but it's trying to find out what they're doing and what you can take into your game to make you play better, or understand what they're doing that makes them pro. Like, why are they so good? Like, South Korea did something last night which kind of blew my mind, which was swapping to a Bastion last minute onto a point and having Transcendence ready to go with it.
Which map was that?
That was on Gibraltar.
Okay.
And it's literally like last moment defense. They swap to the Bastion, bring him out, and then they have a Transcendence for him.
Right.
And so you can't dislodge him. They can't kill him quickly, so... Oh, jeez. Punish Fever. I don't have Fade. No, I have Fade. Ooh. Oh, no. Our McCree shot first. Oh, their McCree shot first.
Yeah, it's incredible how the guys with the amazing aim in the games last night, like Flower and Jay.
Flower,
those two were
yeah.
just
Flower blew my mind.
Fire. Just absolutely incredible. And those matches are just so much fun. The Hanamura match, just so good.
Yeah. I see a couple of questions in the chat, just to be clear. Yeah, so when Moira uses Blink, she goes completely invisible. So the enemy team can't see you, which makes it nice and tricky. Like, I saw a Reinhardt on low hit points, for example. I blinked, I use Fade, and it's like, I can either run away or I can try and get behind him, maybe. That will result in a couple of times where your healer will decide to go on a flank or decide to go a bit crazy and maybe get punished for it very quickly, but it's interesting. She's very, very fun. The dev is too quiet. Maybe I can just turn him up a slight bit. I want to be careful when playing with these, but if I just turn him up.
Sure. Check.
Speak again.
Yeah, how about that? Is that any better?
That looks pretty good.
Okay.
Just let me know if there's any audio issues. I'm still tinkering around with this system. I don't want to touch too many things.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because if it breaks, I don't know how to fix it. You should have seen it at Gamescom. We had this huge audio mixer that was probably worth more than most of the stations in the place. So they were very, very protective of it. And we were all very nervous about it. It's like, please move your drinks over this way. Please don't be near that. Let's see. Oh, I've got to enter a name. I suppose I have to ask the cheeky question of what are you working on now?
Well, we're finishing up Blizzard World, that's for sure. It's not quite there yet. It's fairly close, but we're finishing that up, and you know, really excited for Overwatch League. So there's some things we're going to be doing with that, and a bunch of stuff I can't talk about. So.
Yeah, it's always worth asking,
Yeah.
just to see, just to
if I
try.
slip up a little bit.
Yeah. Now, Overwatch League is something that I am extremely excited about. I didn't think that I would be as excited as I am, but now seeing all the branding come through and seeing all of it coming out. I know Stylosa managed to get his video out today where announcing the UK team, the London Spitfires, in an actual Spitfire.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that
So
yet.
that's pretty incredible.
Uh-huh.
If you can somehow work a Spitfire into the game, I think you would.
Yeah.
Every Brit would fall in love with you because we love those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this BlizzCon sold me even more. I mean, like, I was already pretty sold, but like seeing the pride around the countries and there's just something real about the location-based teams that I think I can't wait. I have to decide now between which Los Angeles team to root for. We have two of them. We have the Valiant and Gladiators.
Right, yeah,
so
the two LA teams.
I like both their logos, so I guess I have to wait and see how the teams do and see which personalities I like more.
I think I'm kind of falling in love with Dallas Fuel.
Mm-hmm.
They have a really nice team roster. They have a really nice, they have a good look.
Mm-hmm.
And London Spitfires, it's disappointing because they're all Koreans. So it's like, I kind of want to cheer for them.
Yeah.
But Dallas Fuel has a lot of people I like on it as well.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think it's going to be really interesting once you see their play styles, and that's just going to be the thing. Like, I mean, you'd root for Flower all day long after what I saw last night. I'd love him to be on the LA teams.
Just seen a good question in chat. How do you? Well, let me bring chat up front and center.
Sure.
So Ant-Man 5 comes in. How do they create the sound of the weapons? What do they draw from with weapons that don't exist in real life?
Oh well, it's a combo. It's a lot of different things. Generally, it does have some real life weapon sounds that are in there, but then it's normally synthesizers. Actually, a lot of synthesizers are used to get something future in sci-fi. And actually, we have a lot of things that aren't really guns. I mean, we have a lot of the plasma weapons. So something like a Zarya beam weapon or a Moira beam, there's nothing from the real world in that. It's just all synthesis. As far as she goes, there's some really cool stretched samples of the voice actress that we put into the sound, actually. So we basically took her voice and sort of used this thing called pulse stretch, if anyone's familiar with that. It's something where you could stretch things out. A 1 second sound could become an hour long. And it gives these really cool textures that are reminiscent of the sound that you started with. So we use some of that stuff where it was like granular synthesis of the voice actress's voice in the sounds.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of samples we use. When it comes to like tracers, blanks, for example, that's something that I worked on. We ended up using sounds of like rewinds of tape, or there was a gusts of wind and ticking clocks, and just general like sound designy whooshes and all these things. And then I took all those sounds and sort of blended them together into a sampler, so I could play with the keyboard. So I could play the different pitches of each of her blanks and play it along the keyboard.
Because she has several different sounds, so it's a whip, whap, whoop sort of thing.
Exactly. It escalates in pitch, and we wanted that to feel really fun. An interesting story around that one was the first sort of idea that we had was that it should go down a pitch, like because she's losing power. That was the obvious thing, but it sounded kind of depressing. So it was like, oh no, we want her to be this fun like character.
Yeah.
Let's swap that around, and we do this kind of inverted major chord of pitches, and it keeps her very light and fun. So when you get those three sounds in a row, it makes her sound like her character,
I think so. How did you make Zarya's beam sound? So
Zarya's beam sounds. I unfortunately don't know a whole lot about that. I'm nearly positive a large portion of it is synthesizers. One of the things we do a lot is we modulate the sound based on game parameters.
Yep.
So with her, I think there's a charge progress. So as she absorbs more damage through her shields, her gun gets more powerful. So that actually changes the sound pretty significantly. And the way we do that is we use a software called WWise. It's a very, very common audio software in the industry. And you could have multiple layers to a sound, and then they all are being changed based on game data. So the more power she has, the more these low, weighty synth sounds come in.
When you get nano boost on high charge, you sound like the Death Star.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always very, very fun.
Yeah, so we go constantly changing things based on what we have in the game.
I just got to very quickly thank the person that's apparently given me $100 donation. Thank you so much for that. That is absolutely outstanding, and that's incredible. You are very, very generous and kind. I apologize if I do miss subscribers, by the way, or miss anything like that, because I don't have my announcements or anything like that. So I will occasionally miss things. Name drop us. Hello, Dribs. Hello, Off Colored. It's. Let me think. Or actually, chat. If you have any questions at all as well, feel free to sort of pop in and just ask away, basically.
I also have a bunch of really cool facts.
That's. If you have anything that you want to talk about, or anything that you think that.
Oh, well, her voice.
Her voice. Okay.
She's got just a killer voice. So she's actually let me check her name.
I believe she's Irish, but she has a very. I haven't managed to hear too much of it, unfortunately, but she seems very. She's meant to be a posh scientist. She works in Oasis, which is very refined, so she's very. Yes, quite rather.
Yeah, but there's also something that's very sinister to the way
Yes.
she speaks, which I absolutely love. But one of the interesting facts is the voice actress is Mon Mothma from Star Wars. So she's in the Senate in Episode 3 and Rogue One.
Right.
Yeah. So she's that's the actress that we chose.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got to say, the voice actors for Overwatch, the way they embraced it. I mean, yesterday we made Reinhardt cry on stage. That was incredible.
Yeah,
seeing them embrace it, and how they resonated with the community, and the community was were already willing to embrace them, and then they've sort of gone, wow, these guys are incredible. It's something I've always
seems
admired.
like it's really formed like a little family for
Yeah.
them, which is really great. We've got a ton of them here at BlizzCon. So the session, there's the voice actor stage is happening, I think, if I remember, it's at 2 o'clock, 2:30, somewhere like that today. And I think we have somewhere around 7 or 8 of the voice actors joining for that. Obviously, Darren DePaul was here as Reinhardt for the intro.
Yeah.
Johnny Cruz was doing some announcements.
Yeah, he was doing some of the hosting.
Yeah, so it's just, they absolutely have just become part of the extended family of Overwatch, for sure.
I mean, it's the same thing's going to happen with the content creators, especially the European ones. We have kind of a cadre that's formed together.
Oh, cool.
And I mean, you'd think we'd be very competitive and you beat me to this, but it's generally very friendly and very open.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's like Mike Morhaime said at the opening ceremony, it feels like an extended family. It feels like we're all sort of part of this thing together.
Yeah.
And it all sort of comes together and is just something incredible, I suppose.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things about all the Blizzard games, just the communities. It's absolutely amazing.
The devs said they still need to finish Blizzworld. What still needs doing?
Oh man, to be honest, there's not much. A lot of it comes down to just final optimizations, and there's details like you can pop those balloons on a weapon.
I think you can. If I had a gun, I think I'd be able to.
You can. And actually, there's a little fun little mini game you can do where you can shoot off the string, so it starts floating up, and then you could kind of take them out while they're in the air. So that's a fun little one. To be honest, there's not that much left to do. It's all just optimizations, making sure it's ready to hit the live servers, ready to go. So who's my favorite character? Oh man, I go through phases like I think anybody does. I mean, the one I've probably played the most of just is Soldier 76. He's just the standard guy that I always go back to. He's always good. Went through a big Winston phase about a month ago. Right now I'm in a big Orisa phase. Mercy, of course, is great to play right now.
Yeah, so, pretty strong.
So she's a lot of fun. Let's see. I tried to get into Zarya. I enjoy playing her. I'm not great with her yet. And how many Jeff memes do we hear in the workplace? Plenty, actually.
Yeah, I know. We were on the plane with Dino Flask, the guy who does the high managed. Yeah. I didn't actually know he was British, but he is. So it was nice to meet him, and apparently they brought him over for Jeff's 15th anniversary as well, and it's just like the fact that they've embraced him. And all the Jeff memes.
Yeah, Jeff's such a good sport. I mean, like, sometimes I'm just sitting there like, oh man, poor guy. He has to deal with this all the time. You know, because he's just like any of us. He's a nerd who loves to make games and wants to play it and geek out about it all day long, and that's the best part. And he there's definitely some being the face of the game has certain pressures, I'm sure, but he's just a super down to earth guy. I sit like 3 desks away from him, so. One of the things that's actually interesting about my position that we spent a second talking about is that as the audio director, I sit in a room with the game director, the art director, the production director, and a bunch of the designers.
So sort of the brain of the...
It ends up being just a really dynamic, fun room because we're constantly discussing, what's going on with Mercy, what's going on with this, and generally most game companies I've ever worked at least don't have an audio person in that type of situation. So it's a really unique thing, and it says a lot about how much the audio means to the development team. The fact that we put so much into the sounds and how they are tied to gameplay is directly because of how much Jeff Kaplan and the rest of the designers have pushed us to make sure that every sound starts in just the right way. You know when this ability is about to end, all by just listening. So it's really great being in that room and having a chance to influence the design very early when the original ideas are forming. And we're just able to, it's also just a fun room. We're always talking about what's coming up next, what we want to do, what's not working, what is working, what's going on Reddit. Every meme that comes out gets sent around and laughed about, and it's absolutely a blast.
Because I've had a chance to speak to Tim Ford before, and he sounded very much the same. The fact that these discussions are sort of where the game gets made, and it just seems a really good creative environment. I mean, at the end of the day as well, you are an artist, so having input on everything will just be valuable regardless. It's just trusting in the talent of the team. It seems to be working so far. So, well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Wrestle with Jeff, prepare for death. Exactly.
Yeah, I think currently we have a mannequin wearing some sort of NASCAR. So I think we did some sponsorship with NASCAR at some point. So there's a driver's, what do you call it, uniform, I guess.
Yeah.
So we've got a mannequin wearing this thing, and Jeff Kaplan's face taped to it. So, yeah, there's our own memes that we have as well around the office.
I know that. Okay, so me and Valkia had a chance to speak to Tim Ford for a long time, and we learned that Jeff loves bubble tea.
Oh yeah, we do boba walks once a day.
Yeah, and so we learned about boba time, and Valkia managed to get a shirt for Jeff with boba time on it. I was going to try and get a hat custom made so that Jeff could have a boba time hat.
We actually, I don't know if it's in the game or not. I'd have to double check, but we have a recorded version of Athena with overtime saying boba time. And I think we might have it in there at like an almost impossible chance to play. The voice system in the game is really unique, where we can add a lot of hidden Easter eggs and make them very, very hard to reproduce. So that, I think there was, man, I can't think of any of them right off the top of my head, but we have some of them as low as like 1 in a million chance to play when something happens. So occasionally there'll be some really funny, just terrible jokes or bad puns that are these really, really low chances to play.
I think one of the more common ones, but one I love so much, is Tracer going, "Death, making fun of Reaper.
Exactly.
It's always a treat when that sort of stuff happens.
In this map, there's I don't want to give away the secrets, I'll let you find it yourself, but if somewhere in this map, if you approach something with a certain character, you'll get a special line for them.
Nice. I like it. A couple of people asking, what healers does she combo with? In my opinion, because she's an AoE healer, you're probably still going to want, and especially because of her limited range, Zenyatta would actually work very well with her, because you have someone who can heal long range or someone who can heal close range. Honestly, with the way supports are right now, like, you can probably make most things work. You just got to play correctly around her and correctly with her. So her kit very much favors playing like a very clumped team because you have that AoE healing. That's her real power. That's her real strength. So you want to have that kind of AoE, coming into effect. So if I'm on my own and just sort of walking around with my healing orb, it's not as effective as having a big clump of people. So to me, like, the discussion isn't these days so much of what healers are optimal. It's more, we have these healers, what team comp does that work with? Or we have this team comp, what healers can we make work with that? So anything like clumped, anything behind a Reinhardt barrier, the sort of the barrier comps now, Reinhardt Orisa, I think she'll be pretty good with. She very much sort of favors that kind of gameplay. I suppose as a sound designer, I've got to ask, how fun was it to have a hero like Lucio in the game? He was literally producing music, producing things.
Oh yeah, it was a blast. Our composer, Derek Duke, did just some killer work. So we collaborated with him a lot, where he was designing music to the songs, of course, and then we took elements of the songs and put it into the sound design kit. We even have a little hidden. Not really hidden. There's a feature where the game audio is driving the visuals for him. So if you ever look at his gun, the little meter, that's being driven by the sound itself. So that was fun to set up to make that one work.
Isn't there a concept of him with his pants doing that?
What's that?
With his pants having like the visualizer?
Oh, maybe. It's
I remember seeing concept art of that, and it looked amazing. Apparently, it was too distracting.
Oh yeah.
It's a shame.
It
would have been amazing. Maybe a skin in future.
Oh yeah, you never know. But yeah, there's been a lot of those little collaborations. So, like when I was working on Diva back in the day, I also was collaborating with our composer Derek because I hit a lot of little K-pop style sounds in the kit. So all those sounds were I went and kind of like found little bits from songs and then had our composer like make little hits that were very inspired by that style of music, and then incorporated that into some of her sounds. Like I think even like her ultimate building up is like something like looping from like sort of a K-pop inspired song.
Yeah.
And then I pitch it up really, really fast. To get
that sounds pretty cool.
So yeah, there's a lot of little details where we use to collaborate with people, with music and sound.
It must just be so weird working your job and just going, that worked really well in the game. You probably hear things all the time and go, we could use that sound for something. We could use that for something.
Oh yeah. I mean that's what those sound design trips are all about. Just going to find those things that we want to use in various ways.
So did you actually go to London, record Big Ben?
I did not. I was in London this summer though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, personal trip, but a lot of fun. First time there.
Well, Big Ben's been turned off for a while.
I know.
So it's heartbreaking.
I know. Yeah, we haven't been able to convince to travel across the world yet, but maybe one of these days we'll be able to do that.
Lucio's gun sounds squishy. Do they have plans to update the sounds?
Well, I see what you're saying with that, but that's part of his character, is kind of keeping that very dubstep kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
So we don't have any plans to necessarily update that one, but we're always open to feedback. It's nice to know that feel that way. We're constantly changing things. I mean, I think we're talking about adjusting the ranges on all of our weapons fairly soon, so you can hear them a bit further away. That's one thing we want to address. We're constantly changing the mix of the game a little bit. Like we actually just, some people have noticed the game got a little bit quieter a couple patches ago. We did that really intentionally so that we can make certain sounds louder.
Yeah.
Basically, we were up against the ceiling of how loud things could get, so we needed to give ourselves more dynamic range by bringing the game down a little bit, so that we could then have sounds that really pop out. And we're constantly remixing and touching on things.
So, someone asked, if you could remove any hero, who would it be and why is it Hanzo? I'll save my Hanzo rant for another time, because I don't think now's the best time for it. Can you heal yourself with the orb? Yes, you can. And when you've taken damage, the orb slows down, so it's almost like you're walking the dog. It's like walking alongside you. So, I'm taking too much damage now. But yeah, okay. I see Argaze here, who's a Hanzo main. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't like Hanzo. Let me scroll through chat. See,
There was a flaw in my approach.
Oh, so that thing about the feedback on Moira's primary fires
Yeah.
actively healing an ally, there should be a sound there. So if it's not reading, we'll continue to adjust it as we put it out. It could be just the bad, the listening environment here. in
yeah,
BlizzCon is
there's
far
a
from
lot
ideal.
of background noise.
Background noise, headphones, things don't really
Yeah.
work out all that well. So it should be there. We'll adjust it if it's not reading well.
Play of the game.
You ever change the sound outright opposed to just changing the volume levels? I imagine that's one of the last things you'd want to do because it would just confuse players if suddenly something different.
I think I'm trying to think if there's any examples that we have. I mean, we're definitely open to it if there's some reason to, but yeah, I think any change would very likely have a backlash to it because people get so comfortable with it. I think a large portion of what we'll refine over time is the mix, like how. I think there's definitely some room for, like I said, those dynamic range changes is one of the things we want to do over time, so that things hit a little harder on a 5-1 system or something like that. I'm really, really happy with how the game sounds on headphones. I think I'm able to easily locate people, and I like the way it sounds on my home stereo, but I feel like there's more improvement to that side that I kind of want to look into. But it's all just real subtle mix stuff, nothing that should be super noticeable. It should be subtle and nice refinements. So, yeah. If I could rework the sound, what would it be?
Let me get a couple of these questions.
Sure.
Is there any way for teammates to know Moira's out of charge? Unfortunately, I don't think there is. I don't think your team could know, but as people unlearn, it's people learning to understand that Ana, for example, has run out of ammo. People learn to accept that, get used to that sometimes you won't be able to heal them necessarily. Does Moira recover her own health by damaging shields and turrets? I don't think she does on shields, but we'll see, or barriers at the very least. With turrets, again, I'm not sure. Like, this is stuff that we'll hammer out with a PTR. And I've seen people ask before about, what are her numbers? What are the healing numbers? The advice I'll give you guys is don't fall into the trap of focusing on the numbers now. Instead, focus on, is it a large amount of healing, a medium amount of healing, or a small amount of healing? Because if anything's going to change, it's the numbers. It's not her kit's going to be suddenly radically changed by the time it hits PTR. So what I would say is that her healing is about medium. It's about... It's a bit more... It feels more than a Zenyatta orb, but about the same as Mercy, maybe a bit less than Mercy because it's AoE. But when you combine it with a healing orb, it's a sudden huge infusion of healing to everyone. So she can do a lot of output very suddenly, so it's a little bit like Lucio in that regard. But when in doubt, guys, just focus on, her ultimate beam, for example, kills people in about 3-4 seconds if they have 200 hit points. So it's never really going to stray far from that. So rather than it's straight 50 DPS, it could be by the time it's live 55 DPS. And if you focus on the numbers, you end up like me, where you'll have numbers from beta still in your mind, and you'll have numbers from alpha still in your mind, and it's like, that isn't true anymore. And so now I get confused about how much damage Tracer Bomb does occasionally, or how much damage this does, hands of arrows or fire rockets. So just try and focus on the general themes, and that will make it easier to understand how things function, I suppose. So someone asked, what's her golden weapon going to be?
Oh man, I don't know.
Do you have any idea?
I have no idea.
Golden hands?
Yeah,
she gets some
maybe.
gloves?
I have no idea.
Maybe her nails, and because she has a device on her palm, doesn't
she? Yeah, all her arms, there's a bunch of...
you can see her arm is all strange.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's probably what would be done.
I mean,
so one question though, flip around and look at her back when you do that emote. Do the emote again. And then look at her back. So she does have those tubes in that reservoir back there.
Well, one of the cool things I heard is when you're healing, those will fill up with gold.
Yep. And they change colors. I'm wondering if they deplete when you're low. I actually don't know. So there may be something you could queue off of there to see if she's out of healing, but maybe not. Not sure.
Now, as a scientist, as someone with a scientific background, I have a science degree, and as someone who's worked with scientists, I know people who are like Moira. I've met people. I've met this person.
Oh yeah, nice.
In lab-based environments, and so it's it's very, very interesting to sort of see another scientist who's a bit, like you said, it's the evil archetype of a scientist, a bit of a mad scientist, I suppose, but it's also just interesting seeing someone very clinical. Mercy's very caring, she's very sort of compassionate, while Moira seems very clinical, very precise.
No doubt.
And it's I've met people like this. I know these people.
Yeah, someone on there asked if I could remove any hero from the game, and in that same, like the reason I'd never be able to answer that question is because I know that there's someone who loves every single hero of the game. You know what I mean? Like, there's been times throughout development when I haven't particularly liked a hero that we were working on, at least at the beginning, and then I always have come to realize later, like, there's someone who loves that hero. And that totally speaks to them for whatever reason, because maybe they know someone that reminds me of them, or you know, they just can relate to some aspect of these different personalities. You know, there's on the gameplay side, I think everyone's so unique. I think that you know, while some might not always be the most viable for a certain situation, I still think every single one of them is fun. Like, I love playing Hanzo in Junkenstein, for example. Like, it just in Junkenstein, he's a blast because it's like, you know, you're sitting there like trying to pop off the headshots and all the zombies coming forward, and it's just absolutely a blast.
I know.
You got enough Moiras on your team, I think. It's gonna go well.
I mean, I know I've spent a lot of my time, for example, these days playing Widowmaker in FFA because you know I don't get to snipe much in competitive.
Exactly.
So it's finding like the things you enjoy about the game, and it's either it's gameplay, you like the character, you like whatever. It's something will speak to everyone.
Yeah.
And I know as a content creator, it's something that we run up to, because if you make a video about someone and it's like, oh yeah, I hate this hero, there's someone out there that, you know, they love that hero super much.
And that's just been one of the things about the arcade modes that I think have been you know, really great, is that those characters that may not be the best in a classic PvP situation always find their little spots there. I can't think of one character that I don't like playing in some mode.
Yeah.
You know, every single mode has, you know, I think FFA is a great way to just, because you know, one of the things that's cool about FFA is like if you come in last, you can still have a really good time because you're just, you know, trying to work with that character.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of the best ways to just practice, like, you know, characters in general.
So part of the reason I picked Sombra here is I want to sort of go on a health pack tour, and Sombra's sort of the best way of doing that. So this one here, not hugely useful. What I noticed is this side pathway that I think people are going to take a little while to discover, but this health pack is Sombra. This is super powerful.
Yeah.
Like, this strikes me as like, if you get a team following you through here, that would be amazing. Oh god.
I'm out of here. Feeling much better.
I sort of just want to find health packs as well. I actually wonder how well hacking will work on her. Let's just try and go for a little explore. I think Snaps Ramus has a health pack. Yes, it does. Nice.
There's one behind on the docks.
Ooh.
That's a good one. Down to the right, right there. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
Also, I wish that you could shoot this. And
what's that?
I wish you could plunge.
Oh, you could. I think it moves though if you shoot it.
Actually, if I...
if you shoot the shark itself, I think it's...
yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's got little physics going on. If you hit it with some bigger guns, it'll get going.
It'll probably really start swinging around.
No one can hide
There we go.
Oh yeah, you got it. There you go. That's a good Hanzo mini game right there. You can sit there and try and arrow them while they're floating up.
Just have a good time at the fair, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's grab this one. Alright, let's actually play the game a little bit and see. Chat scrolling. There we go. So if you guys have questions, like, always feel free to ask. Sometimes we'll miss them, but sometimes we'll catch them. You'll get some good general game information, but also like anything about the audio, especially because we've got the audio man, the audio guy himself. There's a lot of big health packs. Yeah, I noticed that.
Didn't see that coming.
Like, it feels like this is going to be a pretty good Sombra map.
Yeah.
¿Qué tal?
I do know that in the game design, like, you guys try and make sure that every hero at least has some sort of place, or that you guys, that every hero has some place in the game, every hero has some place to shine usually. You want to be careful about having like a, you know, just this map is super bad for this hero, so it just feels bad for, you know, whoever loves that hero, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't think there's too many that are completely, you know, not able to play anything, but for the most part, I think it seems like you can play anyone on any map. There's definitely some strengths though, for certain maps.
I think the World Cup has shown the Mercy problem. Yeah, Team UK showed the Mercy problem.
Yeah, I think, the changes we have about PTR should go a long way.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for not those instant reses, and if I remember correctly, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think PTR, the ult is still instant when she's, sorry, the res is still instant while she's in her ult.
Valkyrie, yeah.
Which is basically fair. And then, about 2 seconds cast time. I think that will help a lot.
Yeah, that went live at about 2 a.m. on the day before I needed to fly. So thanks for doing that. I know my friend Ryan, who helps run Overwatch Central, was very grumpy about having to try and put a video together at like 3 in the morning. But, like, with the Mercy changes, because I suppose if you are in this sort of nerve center of the office, like, how has that felt for you guys in trying to sort of, is it panic stations? Is it, let's just dial this back slowly? Is it, do we need to change it drastically?
Sometimes things raise to a level that are more urgent. I would never say we have never been in panic situation. With Mercy, we definitely realized that we needed to make some changes. It got to, all said and done, I think we're in a pretty good place. She's way more fun to play.
Yes.
She's way more active. And I think we're just going to get there soon. And these changes on PTR are the first step. If that's not enough, we'll keep looking at it. But
yeah,
I think it's probably going to get us most of the way there.
I mean, I've got to say overall, like, aside from Mercy, the game has never been more balanced. It feels like the game has never been... Basically, with every previous meta, it's felt like I could guess 4 out of 6 heroes before leaving the door. Now, I don't entirely know what people are going to run. Like, it's...
Well, you saw it last night in the World Cup. It was
yeah.
Almost, so many of the heroes. They fought on Torb at some point. I mean, they had everything.
Yeah.
So it's fun. And I think that's a good sign, like more that you see heroes being played.
I love that dodge so much. It's so fun. Healing. So one thing I want to point out for you guys is that, so people are comparing this to Symmetra's Orb, but there really is an aiming component to it. So after I kill this guy, like if I sort of look at this D.Va, if I look over here, it doesn't connect. And so there is like an aiming factor to it. So don't just expect it to work like Symmetra. She actually works more like it's more like Zarya's beam and how it sort of actually functions.
Yeah, it has a little more stickiness than a Zarya beam.
Yeah.
But not much.
Is it ultimate stop with a stun and or a knockback? It will be with a stun, I think. Maybe. I actually haven't seen someone stun me. Do you have any idea on that? If a stun
I actually don't know.
A knockback won't, because you can move around when using it. So usually if you can move, it's considered more like, it's like a transformation ultimate with like Genji's drawn his Dragon Blade. So he'll just keep it out, and so maybe you'll just keep firing it. Maybe McCree will flash you and just blow his head off. Who knows?
Yeah, actually, I haven't tried that.
Thanks for the love.
What would a flavored ice cream sound like? Oh God. Well, I don't. Her sounds are definitely on the darker side, so it would be pretty scary sounding, I think.
Is there a skin with an eye patch on Moira? No, there is a David Bowie skin though. That looks absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
There's also an Oasis themed skin. So like Symmetra has her Oasis themed skin, Moira has one as well, which looks incredible.
There was a question there, does her laser sound make you duck when it goes by your head? So we did some cool things actually with her that we hadn't been able to do. It's some new technology we got where we have what we call beam sounds. So for Mercy, for example, all the sounds for her beam emanate from the staff. And maybe at the point, of the person getting healed, there'll be sounds. But we've never been able to actually put a sound on the beam itself till Moira. So for her ult, there's a large portion of the sound is coming from her, so you can locate her very easily. But as the beam passes by your head, you'll hear this like little sweetener sound that kind of travels with the beam itself.
Sort of reminded me of one of my favorite sounds in the game, which is when Widowmaker has a near miss, and you have that very clear sound of like, she almost got you that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it.
The Ziggy skin it's amazing. I couldn't believe seeing it yesterday. Is there any thematic connection between Symmetra and Moira?
They're both. Wait, sorry. No, who's the?
Well, from the lore nerd side, I could tell you already that Moira is part of the council of the Oasis environment. So she's part of that infrastructure. Symmetra, I think, she's technically part of the Vishkar, but I think she has links into Oasis, the scientific development side of things. They definitely have sort of connections on that side. They're both also very sort of formal, scientific, thoughtful characters in terms of like they're thinkers.
They have a very similar skin for Oasis, both of them. So there's definitely some similarities there.
I suppose in terms of sound design, you'd be probably drawing more on like Reaper's sound, for example, because it's a very clear like Fade and Wraithwalk connection, that sort of stuff. Maybe a touch of Mercy sounds because there was that sort of Blackwatch and Overwatch connection.
Yeah, her heal sounds. Like we've tried to keep some of the what we call status effects same across the board. So like some of the layers of her healing are exactly the same as any other.
Yep.
So we keep those things clarity.
Double, triple kill.
Top this guy
My
up.
keen analytical mind detects a pattern. My power grows. Allow me to see.
I've got to say, were you tempted when adding all the Stormwind stuff in to have that huge... I don't know if you've ever played World of Warcraft, but when you walk into Stormwind, you have this massive orchestral kick.
Yeah, so we had it in there for a while. We ended up pulling out the very, very big Stormwind thing because it was a little distracting. So there's still the Stormwind music, actually. If you go around there's a lot of music in this map.
Yep.
But it's all hidden in the edges, so it doesn't interfere with gameplay more than anything. So it's all there. It's just little less featured.
Yeah, I imagine as well if you want to make sure that there isn't like a huge deafening sound when someone's ulting.
Yeah.
Does her damage orb charge out healing? I believe it does. How sticky is the heal beam? It's not actually a heal beam. It's like Mace spray. So it's like if you just look at it, it's very, very similar visually. Makes you understand that hey, this is a spray. Over Scott's career, has he ever used a weird combination of objects to get a very specific sound?
I mean, kind of always. That's kind of what we do for almost everything. As I was saying before with Tracer, there was like a clock and wind and synthesis and all kinds of things. And we just take trips where we get a bunch of little pieces of sound. So we were talking about earlier, the Junktown. We got a lot of sounds from the train museum that layering that they call the Junktown map sounds. Diva's weird combination of music and synthesis and real guns as well. It's all over the board. We're constantly just blending it together.
My ultimate is ready.
Allow me to see to your interest.
Oh, this poor Winston. This poor lad. I need to stop doing that because they just go into orbit. That's no help to anyone up there. What was your favorite map to create sounds for?
Oh, this is probably it, actually. Just as far as the fun that we had with it. For me personally, I worked on some of the early ones mostly, so I did King's Row and and those were really great just because it was back when we were defining what this game was going to be, so those stand out to me. All the early heroes are some of my favorites. That whole year, 2014, was like one of the highlights of my entire career, just seeing those things come together and defining the things that will become this game.
To me, it seems like Junkertown has more sounds and background noise than the other maps. Is that true? That's not just me. Is that something the team is focusing on more now, and will we see more experimenting with it in other maps, maybe?
Yeah, I think there's just some really good opportunities in these last two maps. This one, obviously, there's just sound opportunities everywhere. But even Junkertown, so the one aspect that I had worked on there was the scrapyard. So the scrapyard has...
oh, thank God, man.
We did that trip that I keep talking about where we went out to Central California. And what I ended up doing is I took a bunch of those sounds, which are mostly metal or scrap yard type sounds, and I put them into a sampler that would take them and move them all at random intervals and random pitches. And when I was doing this, I was trying to create loops, so like kind of like creating like an electronic music song or something like that. So I had all these things that would be like,
Objective lost. Stop the payload.
and I would cut them into loops, and then I brought them into a piece of software where I time aligned them all so that they were all basically working together. And then throughout that whole area in the scrapyard, I have like low, medium, and high loops that are kind of going. So there's the low bassy ones that are kind of in the center or up in the big fans. And then there's like a medium ones that are kind of placed around some of the other just moving objects in there. And then out of the small vents, there's the high ones. And they're all playing together synchronized at the same time, so that they're all working and creating sort of this almost rhythm to it. One of the inspirations for that was actually like Money by Pink Floyd. We were like, you know how that starts? Like, you know, with
like
the
all
cash
the tills and
register
stuff like that, yeah.
That was sort of the inspiration. Like, well, why don't we do something like that, but with the junkyard sounds and see how it turns out. So it was a lot of fun. Oh, that's amazing.
That's so cool. It feels so good.
Justice reigns from above.
Whenever we release a new map, we always do a week-long feature of it in the main menu. So I know we'll do something there. We'll feature it for a week or so. And we always do a custom piece of music for it too. It makes it really fun.
One of the things I love for the Chateau Gilliard map, and I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, but the sort of the Alive theme creeps into it. And I love that little detail, just having that theme running through all of it.
Yeah. There's an interesting little tidbit. In the composer's office, he has a small music box that actually plays that theme. So it's a little piece of paper, and it's got all these like hole punches in it. And as you turn the thing, that's where that sound actually came from.
I need to get my hands on one of those.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's too high. Jesus. Try and fuel Roadhog.
Yeah, as far as the healing on how much is it affecting people, we'll make sure that cuts by the time she releases here. So she's going on PTR relatively soon. I don't remember exact dates, but we'll kind of take a listen to it there and play with her a lot. And yeah, I'll keep an eye on that one.
Oh no, I don't have healing juice. Put that through. Oh god. The range of this is pretty good. If I can hit it. Wait, does Moira go through the shield? Yes, Moira goes through the shield. Hello, Ryan. Ryan is literally at the convention. What are you doing in the chat? Are you around here somewhere, Ryan? To bring him on. Anyway.
Play of the game.
Oh, typical. Symmetra gets player of the game. Do we have an amount of healing and damage? I don't have specific numbers for you. In general, I'd say the healing is somewhere between Mercy and Zenyatta. It might even be similar to Mercy. It's pretty potent, but the big issue is if you run out of healing, you really sort of feel, oh god, I've got to go do damage. The damage output is similar to like a 50% charge Zarya. Like that's, I think, is the best analogy I could give you. So it's not huge, but she will slowly wear people down. One thing I remember hearing is that she does self-heal a little bit. Not hugely, but a little bit when you're doing damage with her. So you can probably, like in the duels I've had against Winston's, you can last quite a long time. And if you throw that healing orb as well, he's going to have a very hard time killing you. So you kind of do that sort of stuff. Okay, Ryan is making videos. I think I'm finishing up soon. I don't know actually. I'm waiting, like someone's going to kick me off at some point. And if you are busy elsewhere, you are more than free to toddle off. But
I'll hang out a bit longer, but yeah. We could see how this all goes.
Anna is crying at the lack of self-heal. I mean, Anna has her grenade. She's okay. But yeah, she needs other people to look after her. How's her hitbox? She's very slender, and the way she runs, she does the full nerd Naruto run. So she puts her like it's weird because on your screen you got your hands in front of you, but when you see a Moira running around in the wild, she actually has her hands sort of draped behind her because she has the long sleeves. So if you sort of get a look at her model, you can see she has the big sleeves. OAM. So she's very like it's like trying to shoot a Symmetra or like trying to shoot a Mercy, for example. That's sort of what I would say. I've noticed someone called Twitch Snipe is on here, so I think someone's going to try and focus us. There he is. Hello. Hello, Rodog.
Prepare to attack.
So what do you find is the biggest difference between pro players and the rest of us?
Pro players are very... So the big thing that pro players understand is the idea of the fight. They enshrine the idea of the fight. And you have the team fight, and then you either win it or lose it. With most players, they tend to view it as the round is just a single line of like just playing the game. With pros, it's fight, 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 fight. And so when you start to think of it in terms of the fight, you understand more about ultimate economy. Like, oh, I shouldn't use my ult now because if I save it, then 2 fights later we win the next 2 fights. And so you end up thinking more of like, okay, it makes it easier to group because you're thinking in terms of that fight unit. That's sort of the big difference. The other difference is pros are a lot more consistent. So if you put a pro level 76 against the pro level X Mercy, the 76 is very likely just to kill the Mercy. While with especially lower rank players, that's not as certain. So my advice to low level players is generally, find consistent things, find things that are consistent. So if you are in silver or bronze, now's not the time to learn Hanzo. Like, you want to be looking more to Soldier 76 to get the consistent results, to get things that will just be working and understand the game better, to get your mechanics sharper as well, just to improve your aim. And as it gets better, you'll find things get easier. Like, one of the things I'm working on personally is getting my Tracer sort of damage output higher. So I try and tally, for example, how much damage can I do in a single clip on Tracer on average to a hero. And for me, it's about 150, 160, so I generally need someone else to help me kill something. While with a pro, it could be like 220. And so it's definitely that thinking of the fight and that consideration of, okay, in this push, we are doing this push, and what resources do we use for this push, and how does that function? Well, with regular players, they're much more likely to just try and do something off on their own a little bit more.
Yeah, it's also harder, if you don't have a 6-stack. Yeah, that way.
But like this instance here, this is a really good spot for Moira. Like our team it was relatively clumped, so if everyone's sort of together, this healing is suddenly extremely efficient. Although now I've run out of healing juice, so can I charge into barrier? Not really. Feels like we actually have a game on our hands. Got a cannon. So for example, they just committed the Orisa drum, they committed the beam, and so next fight I know that they don't have the beam, they don't have the drum, we have these resources. So we can use that in terms of economy and maybe win through. Well, a less experienced player might just fire it and see what happens.
Exactly.
I love this detail.
Yeah, little speakers.
The speakers.
Uh-huh.
This will restore you.
Enemy team definitely has actually entrenched themselves, so we have a game. I mean, you've probably played on this map more than anyone. So do you understand the general flow of it? Like, how does a usual game on this map go? How does it usually play?
Normally there's some sort of, obviously the choke up front where you start, but it normally breaks through, I think the one that you were pointing out to the back left there, with that health back. A lot of people go through the Lost Vikings.
Yeah.
And it takes a little while for people to get used to it, but that becomes a very popular route. Another one is getting up top there to the left, the Rise or was it Blade Industrial or something. Because they have a really good high ground position for attackers to go to. So you kind of need to win over the courtyard first, or at least get a couple picks before coming out here. This could be a tough point to take. I would say,
I'm on fire.
we actually, it's a little bit easier to take here at BlizzCon. We tried to actually make it so that people could get more of the map.
Yeah.
So like, with its actual tuning, this point's actually a pretty tough one. So you definitely got to be careful here. And then, as usual with the payload section, most people tend to get through the first chunk of it and get stalled out about around 75-70% of the way through. It's generally
I'm not dead
a
yet.
pretty good map. A lot of even playing. I'd say it's maybe favors defenders a little bit more.
That's an interesting question. How much of a coding nightmare was it to make a ultimate heal and damage at the same time? I suppose with Ana you already have that sort of similar tech as well.
To be honest, a lot of this stuff is done in a scripting language. So it's really cool because the designers and people like myself can get in and make changes without having to know how to code. It's actually probably not that tough to do because basically, the thing that does damage and the thing that heals is actually the same thing, just whether it's adding or anything else. So it just kind of knows how to react to the game.
Hogger and see how the hog combo works on her. Well, we'll dump this ult and try that. Oh, Sweden winning? Oh man, Sweden's 2-2 with Canada.
Oh wow.
Sorry, I was getting distracted by esports. I had a glimpse of it. It's definitely where I'm going to be later. Until the Muse concert, I'm very excited about that.
That's a good one.
I saw you guys at the opening sort of speech had like Muse playing over the trailer stuff, and it's just like, oh my god, that must be so nice to have that. The training animation looks sick. All of it, like, I really like her design. I know some people might not, but I absolutely love it. But I always like villains. I tend to like tragic characters, so Widowmaker, of course, is my favorite character because she is a sort of a tragic villain, but I'm trying to help Bastion in. She's trying to find the position where you can get the beam through as many people as possible. Opinions on the new spectator changes? It's pretty nice. The only issue I have with it is that everyone, like one team is always in white, it feels like, and so that might just need a little bit of a tweak, but it's definitely like a lot better. And like the bars on the top, for example, are way clearer. Just way nicer to sort of look at. Like overall, I'd say it looks gorgeous. I love the fact that there's a minimap. I love the fact that we can maybe use the minimap for stuff, but yeah, it's looking good, basically.
Team up for special attack.
Let's see. Yeah, I think we just got a bit smashed in. Being honest, like this is we have actual team comps at BlizzCon at an event where everyone can come play Moira. That's astounding to me.
It's really surprising.
As someone who has done a couple of things like this before, it's normally just 6 of one hero. I think I remember Stylosa complaining about nothing but 2 days of 6 Sombras shooting at each other.
Oh god.
Just driving people insane.
Yeah. No, it's nice. It's nice that people are playing.
What is Scott's SR? Scott does not need to answer that
Oh,
question.
I don't mind answering. I'm basically low gold. So I've yet to get to platinum. It's surprising with how much I played this game. I'd love to be higher, but that's just the reality of the situation. Yeah, I think I'm a decent DPS. I tend to go for those characters or tank, but then I've been with Mercy. I've been playing a lot of him or her recently. So.
I mean, this is always one of the things that I love about talking to Blizzard developers is if you ever talk to a developer from another game, quite often, especially if they're in something like audio or like cinematics or something like that, they won't have played the game. But the overarching theme I always have with Blizzard employees is they all play it. They all play all the stuff. They're all very passionate about it, and it's just.
Yeah, I play constantly. So there's a recurring group of friends that gets on pretty much every night. It's normally get around 4 to 6 players, and we just constantly play the game. So, yeah, I think I'm around level 300 or so, somewhere in that range. So, put in a good amount of hours, nothing insane, but yeah, and that doesn't include all the workplace tests. So there's a lot more of that too. And then the betas and the pre-betas, and I've been played a lot of this game, no doubt about it.
I saw someone ask earlier, who do you think is the best player in the office?
Oh, there's a couple people. There's 2 engineers that are, maybe 3 engineers that are really, really high level. There's Keith Mirren. There's Ryan Morey. These are guys that work on. So Keith did a lot of the Team Color stuff for the Spectator. Ryan does a lot of the server infrastructure stuff, so making the game really function. And then there's a couple QA guys. There's actually a number of QA guys who are really, really good. You know, they're to the level where our QA can be, like, for example, Junkenstein, endless on hard difficulty. They can actually finish it, plus all the bonus rounds. So
Oh wow!
like,
Okay, so all the bonus rounds as well is
they
pretty
can,
intense.
They can get through all of it. So you know, they're definitely another level.
Yeah.
I could barely get through on the bonus rounds that are hard. So. Yeah, it's we got some really good players. We have a whole mix. We have some who are very not good, and you know, from bronze all the way up to master.
Yeah. Interesting question. I think I recall a reference to the Lost Vikings. There is. It's the Lost and Found Vikings,
Yes.
which is beautiful. So any reference at all to Rock and Roll Racing and Blackthorn? That's very old Blizzard.
No, there is. There's this Snacks Ramus over here.
I love Snacks Ramus.
There's a fun story behind that, actually. That name was originally, I guess, came up with because we were trying to name our cafe at the office. So there was an internal poll what we should name the cafe, and everyone wanted Snacks Ramus, but they wouldn't do it. So they didn't actually name it that. So we found a spot for Snacks Ramus, and this is it.
What did they go with that's better than
I
Snacks
don't
Ramus?
think it has a name. I think
Oh,
we decided
no.
not to name it. I don't really
Too
know.
many arguments.
I think so. I think there's a lot of opinions. And you really can't beat Snacks Ramus.
I know, it's the best. Oh dear. Oh dear.
What about their ranks? I know there. I don't think there's any top 500s, but I know there's some guys up in the 4,000s. Like they get up there pretty high.
Was there a game or piece of media that inspired Scott to go into sound design? I mean, that's in general just an interesting question. Like, how do you end up being a sound designer?
Well, started almost all sound designers started with music in some way. I would say, you know, when I was in junior high, for example, I started playing guitar and had, you know, bands and always wanted to record the band. So I was more interested in the recording process sometimes than the playing. So got very much into the technology of recording music. So when I, you know, went off to college, I built a studio in my house and recorded all these bands and did a lot of live recordings where I would go out and truthfully just spent way too much money on recording gear, and then was like, well, I got to get a real job because this is not doing it. But I've always been so always played games. Like you know, from Nintendo to Super Nintendo. I was more of a console guy mostly growing up.
Yep.
But it was something that I've always been really attracted to. And on top of that, like film sound was something that inspired me in the early days. So when I was in college, towards the end of it, I'm like, I don't think I want to do music for a living. I think I need to figure out something else. And I was immediately like, oh my god, games. So I was super fortunate to get a internship with Electronic Arts back in the day. So I worked on Medal of Honor games. My very first game was Medal of Honor European Assault PS2 game. And you know, that from there it was just kind of as soon as I started that internship, I knew this was my life. It is such a satisfying job. It takes everything I loved about recording music, then adds this really interesting technical challenges to it.
Yeah.
So the sound design creation part is a blast. I love it. But I actually personally might even like the implementation and the technical challenges even more. Like on this game specifically, you know, I had a big hand in the voice system, and that is like an incredibly complex system, but also beautifully simple at the same time. Like basically all these voices are in this giant system that the server is calling all these things off, right? So at any given point in the game, there's every single character sending out every single message to every single client, and then we're trying to determine what you as a player should hear. So the same way we're doing that for sound, we're also doing that for voice, making sure that the most important things, like the ultimate or the objective video, is coming out above everything else. And then on top of it, we also are trying to infuse it with a lot of character to what we call like a criteria system. So any line of dialogue in the game can have additional criteria on it. So you could say it's Christmas Day. So while it's Christmas Day, that line is suddenly valid for them to say when a match starts, or whatever it might be. There's all these opportunities for the characters to speak, and we just try and make it more and more specific based on, oh, I'm in this map, and then this hero is nearby. So then these lines become valid.
Like Tracer saying she could murder a Chip Butty when in King's Row.
Exactly. Yeah. So those are really, really cool things, and the great part is that it doesn't take a lot of work for the writer to have to script in that logic. Like when Tracer is doing this, all he does is writes the line, and then he adds the criteria saying if on King's Row, if between these dates, if whatever, and then that line is valid for this type of situation. So those are the type of things that I've just loved throughout the years, just kind of solving these really interesting technical challenges. And yeah, it's a blast. Rewarding, especially this game of anything in my career is easily the most rewarding thing I've done, because I've been on it since literally day one. It was a blank sheet of paper when we started working on it. So it's been a blast.
When we add Live with Honor and Die with Glory to Reinhardt's voice lines, oh Matt, you don't do that, I'll break down.
I would not be surprised if it gets in there at some point.
Here we are.
I'm out of heal, jeez. I need to abuse the Siva. Oh, Jesus. Did Canada just beat South Korea, not South Korea, Sweden?
I think so.
That's actually an upset.
Oh, man.
The range on this is surprising. Oop.
Yeah, it's got a significantly long range.
I love that so much. Oh, I feel so bad for that person.
One of the reasons she has that range is because we still wanted her to be able to be a backline healer. So if you had a Symmetra range out there, you'd have to be way too much.
Need to heal myself. There we go. Also, someone asked to do the orb run out with time. Yes, they do, and you can see that it gets smaller the more it heals. Oh no, this is a mistake. Like one of the things you gotta, when you use the ultimate, you can't fade either, so you're kind of stuck. So you're locked into that. But yeah, the orbs, as they heal, they shrink, and so eventually it will shrink and disappear. But the big thing is that it, the important thing you got to understand with it is it slows down as it goes past people that need healing. So it's very, very easy to sort of put it where you want it, or to put it over a big crowd trying to heal an enemy right rocket. Don't contest. I think I'm too late.
Yeah, these matches have been so much better, like, compared to last year. They're so much better.
I was part of the UK team last year. It was not great.
Yeah, I think we were trying to do a more community thing, and I think we made the right moves.
It's a lot better this year with having community more be involved in the committees.
Yeah, and
that let us work with the teams in like our way. But yeah, like. I think the problem we ran into the UK was that we have so many like streamers, YouTubers, personalities that then you have a country like Sweden that might not have so many personalities but has a lot of pro players. So it's like it's a bit of a mismatch, unfortunately.
Yeah.
60 seconds.
Do the orbs only drain for getting used or over time? They do vanish after a while. It's like 10 seconds. But from what I've noticed, if you fire an orb, by the time the next one comes up, that one just disappears. So you can pretty much always have an orb out if it's just floating around. The hardest part with the orbs is that when you fire them, like they will just drift off into the distance. So you've got to make sure like you're trying to bounce in between things. If you want it in a specific area, you've got to be a little bit clever with it, which is nice because it rewards being a bit clever with it. Is phase shift always the way she's facing, or is it the direction she's moving? You're literally just in control of it. It's like using Wraith Walk. So you'll vanish, and then you can move. You have about a second. You don't have long, but you're fully in control. So it's very, very hard to sort of know where she's going, which is really nice. As a support, you can be slippy. Yes, Canada just won. Well done, Canada.
Yeah, it's amazing.
For those of you unaware, like maybe I can be a bit sneaky as well. Like, oh, that's nice. Let's see if I don't break everything. So because we got the camera here, so you can see us, and then like behind us is the whole Overwatch area. We've got a great big screen over there with the World Cup going on. And we have all the lovely convention floor all over the place. So many people. And I think that's the StarCraft stage. The StarCraft stage looks phenomenal. They have all like the lit up pylons and stuff. It's amazing. It's been absolutely amazing. So let's make sure that everyone's on camera. There we go.
Moira remote. There'll be all of her emotes when she launches. So soon. I don't even know if we've said anything about when she launches. I'm not really positive, but it won't be too long. So you'll see all that stuff soon. Yeah, as far as my favorite voice line, I have to say one of my favorite voice lines is I'll say it's from Deckard Cain on Blizzard World. Deckard Cain is in hidden spots throughout the level in the Diablo area, and there's one of my favorite voice lines in the whole game in there. Beyond that, I would say my other favorite voice line, and this is going to sound really weird, but it might be Justice Reigns from Above. And I know that it's not because I like the line, it's actually more like what it meant to us sort of internally. When we were, making the first pass of this game and getting the voices in there, as a sound person, like the first instinct is to be like variety. You don't want to hear the same line over and over again.
Yeah.
That's what most cinematic type games like Uncharted or something would go for. You never want to hear the same thing over and over again. You want to make them feel like real people. But that game, that line, when we first did it, we had 5-6 variations. Every time she would do a rocket barrage, it'd say a different line. And we had this discussion internally with the designers, and we decided to pare it down to just being one line that's the same every single time. And to be honest, it was actually kind of a controversial decision to do that. But once we did that playtest, and every time Justice Reigns, and you like immediately can react to it, it was like, oh, this clicks. So we totally.
It starts becoming iconic almost. Of like this.
Yeah, it helps with the iconic. Every poster with her would have that on there. So there's a big part of that, but also just for gameplay reasons, I think it adds so much to the game, to the repetition and like the very split-second timing of how the audio works is.
Well, speaking of like changing voice lines, I remember when Lucio was changed, for example. Like Lucio's sort of had a couple of retakes every now and then, and every time it changes, everyone's like, "Oh, it's so different." For me, because I've been doing it for so long, I remember when Mercy changed, and it was just like, "Oh, this is so different."
Are you saying when we changed the
voice actress for Mercy?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because the original one, she had a superb voice. Like she sounded very mature, very compassionate, mature, but she couldn't speak German.
Yep.
And I know you guys, and like I love it as well. The fact that you have all the different languages in the game, especially when it's on your team. You have these actors speaking in their native languages. And so you just get to hear all these different things. You get to shout bad Japanese whenever Hanzo fires an ultimate, and you get to sort of pretend along with it.
Yeah, that's a funny one too, because we know that's not the best translated line, but at this point, there's no way we're changing that line. We tried to get him to re-record that line probably 10 different times because we wanted to get the grammar correct for that, but we could not get the same. Feeling out of it, like that line is just so well read. Yeah, it's just like you can't change it. You have to use that take, like nothing else.
It's about that, like in the cinematics as well. It seems to be that take. It seems to be that very specific.
I actually think it is that exact take
because it's in the Heroes of the Storm announcement today. Yesterday as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All the way through that video, I was just waiting for Hanzo to fire the dragon. It's like, God, this has to be dragon on dragon, right? This is dragon battle. I suppose just as a quick sidetrack, do you like work a lot with the Heroes of the Storm guys? Because I know they're sort of separate teams, but
Yeah, I mean, the sound guys from every team know each other extremely well. Pedro is their audio lead for the last many years. Good friend of mine. And when they're working on Overwatch Heroes, they involve us and have us come by because sometimes they need to extend the kit for that game. Like I think Junkrat has a different ultimate where he rides an atom bomb. So you guys would come by. It's like, does this feel like him? Does this feel correct? Which normally they're so good that we're just like, yeah. But we give them as much as we can of the original source of the character, and we're always trying to help out in any way we can.
yeah.
But it's like that with every team. Like getting the sounds for this level from all the sound guys was just like everyone was so eager to help. We know each other all very, very well and have barbecues, hang out together. Good community to be a part of.
Oh wow, we got 2 beams going forward, clearing the path.
Johnny Cruz, I don't think can speak Portuguese, but he's so good. How can you possibly change him? He's just got such personality. Let's see.
It'll be very hard as well. If you try and get someone who's not a native speaker to speak it, it would just probably kill it for some people because they know what it should sound like.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a couple of Swiss people, for example, who occasionally get a bit grumpy about Mercy because he speaks German, not Swiss German.
Right.
There's very subtle differences, and it's tricky.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, we knew we were definitely you're walking a fine line with all this stuff because from our perspective, we don't sometimes know the difference either. Too, we don't know all these. We try and do the best we can. We sometimes make a few mistakes. Like Torbjorn is definitely not Swedish, but it's okay.
Well, I could go with Tracer as well. Tracer's voice actress is from where I live, which is the north of England.
Yeah.
And if you've been to England, you'll know that every 20 miles there's a vastly different accent. But she speaks Cockney.
Yeah.
So it's very strange. But it was nice to immediately recognize, actually, that is a Brit, but it's a Brit doing a different accent.
Right.
It could be worse. It could be like the Worgen in World of Warcraft, who have a very clear, this is an American speaking British, or speaking, English.
Yeah, we do, and also over time, I think we've gotten better at it. Like, so with Moira, she's got some lines, and I don't think they're in this BlizzCon build, but I think by the time it hits PTR, or if it's not PTR, it will be live for sure. Her ult will be in Gaelic, so she'll be like all the other heroes that are in foreign language. The enemy version of the ult. So I don't know what it says off the top of my head. Yeah, we also had her read the lines a little bit differently between the two. Like the friendly version of the ult is much more kind in the way she speaks. The enemy is obviously much more aggressive, so that should help make that differentiation nice and clear. And I think she got a couple other Gaelic lines that she speaks.
Does she actually speak Gaelic?
She does not, but her brothers do. So, she got her brothers on the phone with her, and they helped coach her through the lines.
That's amazing.
So she has that in her family history. So as authentic as we can get. So. I think one of the other things I should probably is how great of a job our localization teams have done. I've only barely heard the games in the localizations, but I mean they nailed all the characters and the lines and the translations. And, I mean, to do that in 12 plus languages is just pretty insane. So.
Someone asking, can you cancel the orb? Yes, you can. You just press the button again, and hey. So you're not locked in, which is nice. I know with bullets you can kill these probes, and I keep wanting to kill them.
My will made real.
Alright, let's try and get an angle, and beam.
My will.
Okay, that cancels it. Healing out.
It got canceled when you hooked you?
Yeah, it looked like it does, so that was interesting.
I think any stun probably would be canceled.
So any stun will probably cancel the beam. Ooh. Okay, trying to heal Tracer is difficult, as ever. Alright, I need to absorb some juice from someone. Roadhog, you'll do.
Into the iris.
And I draw out of it. Okay. Yeah. Oh no. Junkrat is going to be a nightmare in here. Don't want to deal with that. Oh no. Whoop. Heals. On this guy. Healing. Out we go. The fact that I'm playing a support and managed to dupe that says a lot about this hero. Says an awful lot about this hero. What affects the physics of the damage in healing orb? Sometimes it floats, sometimes it shoots. So if it has someone to heal, like if these guys take some damage, it will slow down as it heals people. So if you're putting it through a bunch of people that are damaged, it will just hover past them and then it will shoot off when it's done healing them. But only when healing. So if they're on full health, it will just whiz right past them. With the damage orb, it seems to be fairly consistent. I'm not entirely sure, and if it slows down, let's find out. We can do that now. And yeah, we have the Kamehameha ready. I mean, you guys knew, I think, the moment you put this in, that everyone's just going to call it Kamehameha, not Coalescence. For copyright reasons, there's no need to confirm or deny that, but...
Regenerating your cellular structure.
Right, let's get one of these damage orbs real quick. So... See, yeah, damage orb seems a little bit slower, but seems to move consistently. How does she fare against Pharah? She's not too bad, actually. Like, because you can dodge a couple of rockets, but her damage output, Pharah's damage output, seems a lot higher than yours, so you will struggle a little bit. Your range isn't amazing, so if the Pharah just goes super high, then she'll have a hard time, but it's not too bad. And if you're having trouble with Pharah, then you can always just press Q and blast her out the sky. And that feels nice. But you can see the range is... Like, it's impressive. Go. Oh, I tried to be cute. That's still one of my favorite tricks.
That would've worked, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, her heal orbs and her damage orbs in tight areas are pretty effective.
Like, I can see her being very good on any map that is closed in, so things like King's Row, for example, you could just bounce across all the alleyways. This map, especially like around this area, for example, she'll be very strong. You just got to be careful if a surface has an angle to it, because then it will just bounce your orb into the sky. I wasn't paying attention to the time, so there we go. Otherwise, guys, if you still have questions, like, more than welcome to ask. Yeah, duel that's not one-sided for Pharah, yeah, it's not completely one-sided.
Alright, let's see if I got some of these fun facts. I'll talk about the audio. So this is one from Jeff Burnett at the Sound Designer. He said that the amount of work is substantial in terms of making source material and generating the final assets. He recorded a total of 28.57 hours of audio while working on it.
Jesus.
So in his yeah, there's quite a bit of stuff that he had made. Yeah, so that was great. As I mentioned before, some of the voice actress's lines got put back into her sound design, so that's pretty good. There's some subtle details, like when she does with her hands, when she does this type of thing, the sounds of her nails clicking were made from guitar picks.
Ooh.
Actually, I'm pretty sure those are the guitar picks from Abbey Road that we got while we were in London, so that's pretty cool. Air suction, liquid, tube movement, and tank sounds were made with a coffee keep fresh air canister with and without water inside. Her footsteps were two different shoe types, a woman's leathered boot and a man's tuxedo dress shoe. So
there you go.
Some random facts for you guys.
I think this might be the last round, or we might have another full round. I'm not entirely sure. Did someone already ask if the new Spectator mode will be available to the public? I don't know if you will be in charge of knowing that at all.
I don't know that
unfortunately.
at all. I mean,
it's something that I think I managed to corner Tim forward for a little while, but I need to bug him about it more. I think he said yes, but it'll take a while of polishing before it gets out.
I mean, I'd be surprised if we, wouldn't want to do something someday with it. It's such a cool feature.
It would be so nice as someone who, occasionally runs tournaments, occasionally casts tournaments, to have all these tools. And it's also like putting stuff like the slow-mo in the hands of the community and seeing what they make out of that.
Yeah.
And like making videos and frag videos.
Like they did with the Junkenstein.
Oh yeah. Oh, stuff like that would be amazing. Yeah, if you had the sort of the filmmaker sort of studio stuff, that would be incredible to get out there.
That's the same slow-mo that we use for those cutscenes.
Right.
So it's all time scaled.
When will Moira come to the PTR?
I don't. Let me ask. Hey, Wes.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A. Acknowledged.
Yeah. I don't think we have anything official yet, but
Yeah.
it won't be terribly long.
But I will say, because I'm a little bit more at liberty to talk about certain things, in my experience at Blizzard, with BlizzCon, it usually hits the PTR a couple of days at most. Like, it's usually very quick from BlizzCon to PTR. So you won't have to wait too long, hopefully.
Allow me to repair the damage.
Because, I'm getting convinced. When I first tried it, it was a bit like, I'm not entirely sure. But the more I play it now, like, she feels very fun, very active. I can actually fight people and have fun. Someone's called OPAF. Oh, I love the fact that Jeff made that joke. Yes, she's very fun, very interesting, dynamic.
Allow me to repair
I like it. I'm on board. Just to try and keep the person alive.
Allow me.
There we go.
There was a question earlier about how many takes to get the perfect line. I'm assuming you mean in the studio for like the VO. It's normally these actors that we work with are great. They just nail it on. We normally do 3 takes of a line, and they just do 3 in a row. We pick A, B, C. Sometimes we want to adjust slightly, and we'll go through that. Andrea Toyas is our voice director, who's worked on every Blizzard game, and just does amazing work with the actors, where she'll say just the right thing to get them to adjust in just the right way.
Yeah.
So for the most part, I'd say 3 takes when we pick one, but there's certain lines that you just do for a half hour.
Yeah.
It's very rare, but there's like I said with the Hanzo.
My will.
I can't even tell you how much time was spent. Like tries, and just never getting back to that magic that was in the original take. So
I suppose when dealing with the voice actors, have one of them ever sort of come out with a line on their own, or just tried experimenting with things?
Oh,
Because I know they get into character, like they're actors at the end of the
May
day.
is a classic example of that. Like the Sari line was totally a mistake. That was her literally apologizing in the studio. The sorry. That was literally her. That wasn't a written line. That was just her. And we just took it and cut it out, and put it in the game. So there's a lot of those things. I think Judd Pratt has done quite a bit of
Oh man, I could.
improv as he goes.
Yeah.
He's got such personality. I'd be willing to bet a ton of Lucio lines are that same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but our writer Michael Chu, I mean, I don't know how he does it. They imagine these characters out of thin air, and it's pretty good. He's always got the little fun secrets and puns and just hilarious references. So he's definitely. And he's working on WoW. He was like one of the main writers on D3. So he knows all the the lore of Blizzard and can kind of call upon that when needed. So
Yep.
One other thing I'll say about the VO at this level with the announcers, so I think I already mentioned we have Uther, Warcraft. In this area, we have the Adjutant in the StarCraft area, we have Dr. Cage in the Diablo area. And I will say, in the Warcraft area, throughout the year, you may hear new lines over time, and I'll leave it at that. Be on the lookout.
Touch from afar.
Imagine Mark Hamill voicing an Overwatch character. I mean, for a while, the constant rumors was Terry Crews, which some people consider unfortunately didn't happen. Some people consider.
I mean, we love Terry. He seems like a great guy, but we really wanted Jupiter to be
serious, I suppose.
He was supposed to be serious, and he was absolutely sent, and we wanted that accent to come through. Like that was what we really wanted that character to be.
Yes.
And if you think about him as one of the main villains in the game, that's going to be important. I think everyone's super hyped to watch this viewership right now. I mean, like, those matches were just, like, some of the best they were easily the best matches I've ever seen.
They were incredible.
And it just, everyone's pride in their home teams was just killer, and yeah, I think
This will heal
it's last yesterday. I can't wait for what's gonna happen.
Oh. Does hitting a shield replenish the healing pool? I don't believe so, unfortunately. So you can't just sort of feed off that. But you can sort of, like, Roadhogs are very abusable, stuff like that. Anything very large is very easy to heal. One last question, how is Moira's ult range? It is possible to snipe someone with it across the map. It's not quite across the map, but it is respectable. Like, if you have a good distance on it, most stuff you can see you can probably hit unless they're miles away. It's very, 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 very powerful. Her ultimate feels pretty good. Is South Korea flying? Or South Korea versus France. This I'm expecting to be very one-sided, unfortunately.
That's what we thought about the U.S. match, though.
US, we gave them the better, like, a lot of the people who sort of do a lot of the behind-the-scenes sort of looking at the pro scene, it was always a case of, like, this is, if there was ever a chance for the USA to beat South Korea, it is now.
Right.
Because their team has, like, a strong meta behind them, they have one of the best Mercy players, all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't too surprising, but it was like, oh, wow, like, they're really doing it. They're actually doing it. They're making a match of this.
Yeah, it was a great match.
Okay. So I think we have one more. So, yeah. So if you have any last-minute questions, now is the good time to start getting them in. I mean, it's, for me, this has been a crazy experience, and I'm looking forward to maybe coming back next year, but it's hoping. But hopefully I'll be doing some of the commentary maybe for the Overwatch League. That's sort of the dream right now for me. I'm trying to get involved in that.
I will find
So prediction
the
versus France versus South Korea. South Korea should just take this 3-0. I believe they'll just roll through this, unfortunately. France have had the same practice issues as the UK. They haven't managed to practice as much as they were hoping, so that's sort of the thing we're hearing.
Yeah, his Widow play yesterday was just absolutely insane.
But one thing I secretly hope is that the Overwatch League sort of infects the office, that everyone sort of starts getting really into it. You guys need to set up screens constantly, have viewing parties.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sure it will. I mean, like, we were already like that, and you know, we haven't even gotten into the thick of everything so far. So, I think this World Cup has been a great kickoff for what's to come.
Yep.
It's really gotten me personally just crazy excited about it. So, and for us, we're actually not that far from the
arena.
The arena's up in Burbank, so it's it's a little drive, an hour or so. But I'm sure we'll be going up and seeing as many matches as we can.
When getting nanoed, it sounds like you fire faster. Is that just the audio effect?
It is just the audio effect, actually. We wanted to give you that feeling that, we can't, just for production reasons, we can't change every weapon sound in the game to make it sound bigger. And so, yeah, we just literally pitched it up a little bit, so it gives a little more urgency, and it gives you that feeling of like, yeah, I'm actually doing more damage. And you are doing more damage. You aren't actually firing faster. It's just an auditory thing. So it isn't 100% accurate to do that, but I think it gave us the emotional reaction to being nano boosted that we want.
You feel powerful.
Exactly. Which
you
is
feel
really
good.
What matters.
Like, one thing I would love to hear, which, I don't think I'm going to get to hear it at BlizzCon, but the sound of the beam plus nano boost, I imagine would sound pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of just getting that oomph, I suppose.
Yep.
Yeah, Nano Zarya is one of the most satisfying sounds in the game. Nano Sombra as well, if you ever get a chance to hear that. That makes that little sort of pea shooter sound like it's just ripping people into pieces. It's brilliant.
Nice. Yeah, that weapon, that was an interesting one. Just the Sombra weapon ended up, like, it used to be a lot more aggressive. Like, and it's actually really the same sound. I think we took a little bit of, bite off of it and ended up turning it down. But it was so aggressive when it first went in the game that people were actually like reacting to it like negatively. They're like, it's too scary. We can't deal with how scary this weapon sounds. So we toned it down a bit. I mean, one thing in general with our game is like we compared to a lot of other first-person shooters, our weapon one-piece sounds are quite a bit quieter than other games because we want to give you so much more awareness about what other people are doing and all the things you need to hear. So we actually keep those things a little bit further back in the mix than.
I suppose with Sombra, one of the challenges you guys face as well is because she's a stealth hero, having that audio be crystal clear, knowing that Sombra is here or there, like getting that spot on.
Yeah.
It's going to be so important.
Everyone always talks about her voice lines when she comes
Yeah.
out of stealth. But yeah, we pulled those radiuses back on both her
Very
and
recently, yeah.
Reaper, yeah. So that gives them a little more stealthiness, which I think is going to be nice for them.
I'm going to have a field day with that, man. I know I'm friends with a guy called Hammy who does videos for like finding connections with stuff. He does like voice lines, so he'll generally like rip all the voice lines and find all the interactions.
Oh, nice.
So he sort of does the cataloging of that, explaining all of them for people.
Oh, cool.
He's going to have one hell of a time with this map. He's going to love this map.
Yeah.
And he's going to love Moira as well, because she sort of fills out some of the sort of the Blackwatch history, the Talon history, and getting all that lore side of things sort of rolling as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think she's great for the lore. You know, like I love the that side, the Blackwatch side.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it myself.
Yeah, and Talon. So I think the more that we're delving into that, the better. How much is audio taken into account for balance? Quite a bit, actually. In the sort of way of kind of what we were just talking about with radiuses of sounds and making sure that you can hear people from the proper distances, especially ult, like clarity is a huge one that we, with her we iterated, like literally, each hero we're working on them for months and months. And the ult is probably always the one that needs the most iteration. I think you can actually nerf people with audio sometimes.
Yeah, I know. Recently, Reaper had his audio radius sort of tuned in as well with his shadow step and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's basically a buff for him. So if he can get behind the lines without people knowing, that is it's very helpful for him as a player.
I love stuff like this. Like Hollywood as well has like all the movie posters. I can imagine some artists had a great time making these.
Oh yeah.
On those Carbot Overlords? There is an actual Overlord as well. He is floating around somewhere. Well, there's Naxxramas. It's not quite Carbot. It's close. But how's there an Omnic Child? How does that work? There's the Overlord. There he is.
Nice.
He's floating around. You just want to go and explore over there and over there and see the entire thing.
I don't know if you guys have seen the map that we created.
Yes, you have like
it's
a full.
actually in game too. I don't know if you'd be able to see it.
It'll probably be on the front gate if it's anywhere.
It might be in the tavern actually.
Oh, I can't get in there.
I don't think it'll let you in there, but there might be something over there. But yeah, we did the map for the whole park, and it's really cool to look at.
Yeah, it's probably in here somewhere.
It's right there. You can see it.
Oh, hey, just go in.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so I think we're just in that front section there. And there's just so much more else.
Like, through here.
Yeah.
And then finishing at Leorix Manor.
Yeah. Now we just need to make it real, right?
Yeah. That's always the big question. It's like when, you got BlizzCon, we could just take over Disneyland over there.
Sure. Yeah, might as well.
No problem. Yeah, see,
Yeah,
so when is
exactly.
BlizzCon going to bring the real one?
Yeah. Did we internally? I can neither confirm nor deny if those discussions ever happened.
I can imagine Disneyland might be a little bit, just a little bit too close. Yeah. They're famously protective of their IP.
Oh, okay, good.
Sorry about that, just confirming that we're doing another one. Oh, we're done? Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry. So, yeah, okay. So that is about it from us then. So I'm going to wrap up. Thank you so much for hanging out, Scott. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Blast.
Thank you, everyone in chat, for joining us and asking questions and sort of taking part, having a good time. I've been having a blast here at BlizzCon. Hopefully you guys can, enjoy the rest of the show. I'm going to hand it off to someone else. I'm not entirely sure who, but we'll try and find someone to host. I think Tim is streaming over there, so we'll probably try and find a host for him or something, just to pass you guys along. Otherwise, I'll see you guys soon when I get home. I'll try and make a video as soon as I can. But otherwise, thank you all for joining us. And